I love my little kangaroo cup. It's my best birthday gift. He smiles to me every morning with flowers on his back. And she's also cute.
Like Edelweiss just greets you every morning. Listen, you and your cup can have all the fun together you like, but I'm not in a very good mood today.
Okay. I always laugh.
Well, it's fine for you to laugh, but I'm going to start this video with a bit of a whinge. I got into one of our communal vehicles the other day. We have a small fleet for 200 people. And I mean to tell you, that vehicle was filthy.
What the?
Someone had walked through a bog, carried the bog with them on their shoes, and then decided that getting into the car, which I was next to use, would be a good idea.
Some people.
What was the fuel tank like?
Completely, it wasn't a drop. I hardly managed to drive the thing to the fuel pump to fill the tank so that you're laughing again, stop it.
I'm sure there was pet hair in the back too.
I don't want to know what kind of hair it was. Shouldn't have been there. So before I could even take the thing out on the road, I had to fill the fuel tank, clean the mud off the mat so that I could drive it safely, and then wash the rear window so I could actually have some visibility. Basically, I was left feeling like, maybe somebody wanted me to end up wrapped around a tree. Go all Ethan Frome.
Okay.
No, I mean it.
Sorry.
Sometimes a man just got to do what a man's got to do. And so, what should have been a very quick and easy jaunt to town turned into a 20-minute project just to get the vehicle in some sort of presentable form. And, that is one of my classic bugbears about a shared life, is that, some people choose to share more of their life than they ought to with the rest of us.
Yeah, I know. It is a frustration.
So, friends, our topic for today is going to be just a little bit about what it's like when we live in community, where we do try to share all things in common, the opportunities we have, whether we take them or not, to care for each other and to care for the things entrusted to us. Just thought it'd be an interesting thing to explore and make some observations on that. We're talking about it in the communal context, of course, friends, but it applies to our families, our workplaces, and just our general attitude. Particularly as people of faith, what do we do when faced with other people's
failings
and lack of consideration?
Well, there's that incredible scripture that you and I both love in Romans
That
12.
one?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
And it starts with, don't pretend just to love others, really love them, and goes on to say...
Well, here, go all in and read it.
Okay. It says, don't just pretend to love others, really love them. Hate what is wrong, hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection, and take delight in honoring each other. And I love that. I really, really love that. It goes on, encourages us not to be lazy, but to work hard, and ends with urging us to take every opportunity to give hospitality.
Yeah, so that's Romans 12.
12, yeah. 10.
I can tell you what.
Yeah.
So the example I gave of the vehicle and the state in which I found it this morning did not exactly inspire genuine affection in me toward whichever nameless person left it like that.
But I think he's talking about that. I really do.
It kind of probably is.
Yeah, because it's easy to take delight in honoring one another when somebody else is being friendly and leaving the car nice or cleaning up their messes in the communal spaces. It's difficult to take delight in honoring one another when we don't feel honored.
Yeah. I was thinking this week of an example from my childhood of this, because my dad often would take my brother and me to our carpentry shop, and we were fortunate enough to learn some basic woodworking skills from him. But he always made us, alongside himself, spend time just cleaning the place, putting tools back on the tool board, getting down on our hands and knees underneath the table saw and getting all the sawdust out, and leaving it significantly better than we found it. And I can clearly remember one time as a young teenager, I whipped in there on some project I was working on and used some machinery and just left my debris and headed back out. And I will, to my dying day, remember my father telling me, "Now, who do you think is going to clean up after you? Harry Fossard?" And Harry was this old craftsman
Yeah.
at our community. He had this beautiful cabinet with all his tools that he had built into an old pram, baby carriage. And he would go around and you know, and do little handyman work, but you know, real skilled craftsman. And he was an older brother in the community, and my dad was making the point: if you leave that mess, Harry will clean that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you
that's
know,
not respecting.
So
him.
maybe in that instance, shame was a little bit the motivator to do the right thing, but it stuck with me that, you know, by just doing the small insignificant thing that nobody's going to thank you for, you're leaving it that much better for the next person who comes along, and it's really not that big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But tell some more examples, because often, like, you know, in the sisters' workspace, say like in the communal kitchen.
Yeah, so once when I was younger, I remember coming into the dining hall area and finding a mess in the windowsill. Someone had done a flower arranging project or something and left it a mess, and I was upset and complaining vociferously, and the sister that was working with me, who had obviously more experience in communal living, said to me, "Let's just clean it up because we never know what kind of day that person has had." And that just threw another perspective on it. Like, you know, maybe I could just lift their spirits. Maybe they had been doing something and something came up and they had to rush off, or they were having a hard day. And that, I've always heard her voice saying that to me when I'm like, why did somebody leave this mess? If I can find the person to clean it up, fine. But often than not, it's something, it's a gift we give in community to look after each other in our weakness, I guess.
Yeah, but you know, and often, you know, take a communal area like the kitchen. You come on a Monday morning and there's mountains of dirty dishes that just sort of magically accumulated over the weekend.
Produced, yeah.
And I've seen a variety of approaches to avoidance of that.
Creative approaches.
Well,
very,
you know,
yeah.
some are, you know, take the sort of snarky route. Your mother doesn't work here, so you know, yada yada. That can be effective, but the one I always thought was the most profound was coming in there on the weekend and seeing a beautiful doily on the what do you call it, the drain board of the sink, and a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
And maybe just a little, you know, thanks for doing your own note,
Yeah.
but that says more, at least to me, more simply and in a far more cheerful manner than any amount of sort of sternly worded lectures.
Yeah, and I have been very humbled living next to the neighbors that we live to now, because I can leave the laundry hanging up and there'll be a rainstorm coming and I'll be way far away from the laundry line, and she'll nip out and bring it down, and I'll come home and it'll be folded on my table, and that kind of thing. We have the opportunity in community, as you do, you know, even in a neighborhood, to do those tiny acts of love that just lifts your spirit to come home and go, I don't have wet laundry. It's folded and it's dry because my neighbor thought to take it down, and it's good.
Yeah, you know, and to go back to Scripture, I mean, the New Testament is full of examples of Jesus just teaching us to, you know, choose the humble route, to do the extra deeds of love, how he washed the feet of his disciples and gave them the parables of the servant who just, you know, thought he was doing great stuff by preparing a meal for his master, but in the end, you know, all he's done is what's required, and that's how it is for each of us. I mean, you know, we don't have to get all like don't have to get all spiritual about it, but
you know, real love isn't glamorous. It's just showing up and doing the things that nobody else wants to do.
and you know, it's no different in our own home.
No.
Our house is quite small and snug. We love it, but we have to be considerate of each other, and as parents, it's a endless teaching moment of
Well, I
trying to
noticed
just pick up.
as the boys have grown taller and taller, the house has just sort of shrunk. They're just these huge men now, and
And their shoes get bigger, and everything, you know, so there's
Yeah.
just more stuff lying around.
But when you build those caring things into the rhythms of the day, whether it's chopping the firewood or hanging the laundry or doing the dishes, it also becomes part of our love language
Sure.
to care for one another.
And I guess maybe one final point, you know, in community too, we all have our little hang-ups and foibles, the things that I get bent out of shape about, somebody
Don't
else
bother me.
may not be bothered at all.
Yeah.
And so to remember that and make
Yeah.
allowances for each other, and just think, for every time that I'm doing something to tidy up behind somebody else, how often are they doing the same for me and more, for things that I may not even be aware of, and that there's joy in that, and like that scripture says, let's read it again. And love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. So yeah, that's our note to self for today.
Yeah.
is to really take delight in doing the little things that need to be done. See how we can brighten somebody else's day. And find once in a while, if something's repetitive or somebody's just really deaf and blind to the disaster they're leaving in their wake, then you can help them. But you can even do that with humor and love, and to remember that.
Yes,
So,
service is joy.
so I'm sorry for my bad mood.
Let's go clean that car.
Yeah, and that's a really nice cup. I'm glad you like it. Friends, we'll talk again soon. You stay safe, and all the very best.
Yeah, talk soon.
Why can't everyone just be more like me?